If you've ever received a package you didn't expect, a gift left on your doorstep with no sender, no explanation, stay, because what I'm about to tell you is not just a story. It's a warning. A warning about the night we opened something we were never meant to touch, something that has been following us ever since. And if you think this could never happen to you, you're already wrong. I used to believe that the most terrifying things in life revealed themselves slowly, like storms gathering on distant horizons, giving enough warning for the sensible to seek shelter. I thought horror had a shape you could anticipate, a presence that announced itself with creaks or cold winds or shadows stretching under doors. But I was wrong, and the truth came to me wrapped neatly, sealed with ribbon, left quietly on our porch like something harmless. It arrived 4 days after Christmas, a time when the world feels slightly kinder, when lights still glow in windows and people cling to the last warmth of the holidays. For us, the season had been bleak. My mother was exhausted from endless shifts, my younger brother Owen was restless and anxious, and our home felt like a brittle shell barely holding itself together. Still, we endured, because that's what you do when survival is the only tradition you can afford. That morning, when the frost clung thick to the railings and the sun was barely awake, I saw the package sitting perfectly centered on our porch. It was wrapped in pale, almost translucent paper that looked older than anything sold in stores, and tied with a faded red ribbon that seemed untouched by frost or time. Our last name was written on the top in looping black ink, elegant and deliberate, the kind of handwriting you would expect to see in a museum, not on a stranger's gift. I picked it up, expecting the dull, cold weight of a normal box, but the surface was colder than ice, colder than winter, like something that had been buried deep underground. I brought it inside anyway, brushing off the strange sensation prickling my fingers. Mom came home late and barely glanced at it, too tired to question anything. She told us to open it in the morning, brushing a kiss across my forehead before disappearing into her room like a ghost returning to its grave. But Owen was fascinated. He sat at the table long after Mom had gone to bed, staring at the box with wide, curious eyes. When the house fell silent and the heater settled into its low, uneven hum, he whispered that the box was humming. I laughed, but I heard it too, a soft vibration, rhythmic and subtle, almost like breathing. I should have put it outside then. I should have trusted every instinct screaming that something was wrong. But we left it on the table, like fools waiting for a disaster to unwrap itself. The next morning, Owen was already seated at the table, the ribbon untied but the wrapping still intact. Beneath it was a wooden box, dark and polished, carved with swirling patterns that looked like vines or veins, or something shifting between the two when the light caught them differently. The latch was tarnished gold. When Owen opened it, the air thickened around us. Inside was a glass sphere, perfectly clear, containing a small cloud of black mist twisting in slow, deliberate spirals as though alive. The sphere pulsed faintly in Owen's hands, growing warmer the longer he held it. I felt a pressure behind my eyes as though something deep inside the sphere was aware of us. Mom dismissed it as a weird novelty gift and rushed off to work, leaving us with the thing that should never have been touched. Once she left, the house changed. The lights flickered. The heater made a gurgling sound like it was choking. The sphere's humming grew louder, vibrating through the table into the floorboards, into our bones. I told Owen not to touch it again. He touched it anyway. He said it wanted to show him something, that the mist was moving differently when he leaned closer, forming shapes he couldn't quite describe. When I stepped closer, I saw the mist spiraling faster, thin tendrils stretching like claws across the inside of the glass. The sphere glowed faintly, and then, without warning, it cracked. A thin fracture split across the surface, then another, then the sphere opened like a seed pod breaking under pressure. Instead of shattering, the glass split into two clean halves, and the mist inside did not dissipate. It poured out like thick, living shadow, crawling across the table with unnatural grace. The room went silent, not just quiet, but void of all sound, as though something had sucked the noise from the air. The shadow rose, stretching upward into a tremoring human-like shape with limbs too long and a head slightly tilted like it couldn't quite understand gravity. It looked at us without eyes, yet I felt its gaze sinking into me like cold fingers pressing against my mind. A whisper filled my head, not in a voice but as a thought not my own. "Thank you for opening the door." I grabbed Owen and ran. The creature didn't chase at first. It simply watched us flee down the hallway, its body twitching in unnatural jolts, like something learning how to imitate movement. We barricaded ourselves in my room, shoving the dresser against the door with shaking hands. Owen was trembling so violently I could feel it through my grip. Hours passed in suffocating silence. When Mom came home, she didn't believe us until she saw the box and the split sphere, now cold and empty. She asked what had been inside, but before we could explain, a slow, deliberate scratch dragged itself across the living room wall. We all turned toward the sound and saw it just for a moment standing in the corner, its tall silhouette flickering as though its body struggled to remain solid. Mom screamed and dragged us into her bedroom, locking the door. The creature roamed the house, its footsteps soft and irregular, sometimes dragging across the floor, sometimes tapping lightly like fingertips. Hours passed, no lights worked. The outside world looked swallowed by darkness. Around midnight, the whispering began, coming from directly behind the bedroom door. "Let me in." The words repeated in an endless cycle, neither shouted nor spoken, but breathed directly into our minds. Mom held a metal lamp like a weapon, her knuckles white, her breath shallow. Owen cried silently against her. I stood in front of them even though I knew it wouldn't matter. The whispering stopped, and for a brief, terrible moment we thought it was gone. Then the cracking started. The doorframe groaned as something pressed against it, slowly warping the wood. A long, thin shadow spilled under the door. We braced ourselves. And then nothing. The pressure stopped. The shadow retreated. Dawn light seeped weakly into the room, and the creature vanished with it. We didn't wait. Mom packed whatever she could fit into 2 bags, dragged us to the car, and drove 3 towns away to my aunt's house. But 2 weeks later, another package arrived. Same pale paper. Same faded red ribbon. No return address. Mom burned it immediately in the backyard, watching it curl into black ash. For months afterward, we tried to rebuild our lives. I almost convinced myself the nightmare had ended. But last night, while standing near the window in my aunt's guest room, I saw a reflection where my own should have been. A tall, crooked silhouette with a trembling outline. Its head tilted the exact same way. Its form flickered like something unstable, like shadow forced into the shape of a man. And in my mind the whisper returned, stronger than before. "You opened the door. I will always know where you are." The humming has returned too, faint but growing, vibrating through the walls, the floor, my heartbeat. If you ever find a package wrapped in paper older than time itself, tied with a ribbon that seems untouched by weather or age, do not touch it. Do not bring it inside. Because some doors are never meant to be opened, and some things, once invited, will never stop coming. If you want to hear what happened after the whisper returned, what came for us in the dark, and why some doors never stay closed, let me know. The thing that escaped is still out there, still searching, and I'm not sure how much time we have left. So before it finds us again, subscribe, stay close, and whatever you do, don't open anything you didn't ask for.